How do we get 14 portions of non-starchy vegetables, six portions of protein? Fat I have no problem with. So the vegetables the key is to get 3 servings in each meal. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 servings a pop. And with breakfast, that can be as simple as having a green smoothie or having some vegetables scrambled with eggs or things along those lines. Lunch, you got a salad or a salad on the side with whatever you eat. And dinner, it's usually just a side of big vegetables. That in and of itself is 9 servings of vegetables right there. If you throw in 1 or 2 green smoothies, you're at 14 servings. So the key thing is just to make sure we're eating at least 3 whole food meals per day. Each one of those meals is going to contain between 2 or 3 servings of vegetables. And then if we're going super sane and we're going double-digit servings of vegetables, we're going to incorporate some SANE smoothies into our lifestyle, some SANE green smoothies, blending them up. And then if you want to, you can also add SANE superfoods to your smoothies and very easily get to 14 servings by using smoothies, SANE superfoods, and whole foods at every single meal. So boom, that's my answer to that one. Let's go here. A couple other quick ones. Why do you prefer whey protein versus defatted beef protein? I don't prefer whey protein to defatted beef protein. I think they're both fantastic. The reason I don't provide a clean defatted beef protein, maybe that's why this individual, I apologize if I ever said that I think whey protein is better than defatted beef protein. I don't think that. The question may be because in the SANE store, we have clean whey protein, pea protein, rice protein, and hemp protein, and we just can't find a good clean source for defatted beef protein. So defatted beef protein is great. And in fact, if you want to go super advanced, desiccated beef liver, which is just dried out beef liver, most of us know that organ meats are incredibly nutrient dense, but it's very difficult to find and prepare delicious organ meats, at least in the United States. So if you want all the B vitamins and other goodness that's found in liver, for example, you can find, there's a company called Beverly International, which sells a product called Ultra 40, which are just dried Argentinian grass-fed beef liver in little tablets. Each tablet is 2 grams of protein because it's just protein. It's very convenient. It sounds disgusting. It's not meant to be delicious. It's meant to be nutritious. So yeah, I don't prefer whey protein. It's just a different form of protein that does different things well. Beef protein is a different form of protein that does other things well. All right. So Candy has a question. She says, what do you think of superfood powders for smoothies? I think they're great. We've got 80 of them available in the SANE store. I personally would recommend using them in the context of a whole food smoothie, right? You'll never hear me say ever. And if you do, call me out on it. Hey, use something that I sell instead of eating whole food. Ever. Even though the stuff that the SANE store sells is whole food, right? Powdered spinach is just spinach that has the water taken out of it. I want you to be eating whole foods. I want you to get in the habit of eating whole foods. And I want you to enjoy the satiating benefits of eating whole foods, right? We need to get out of the mindset of like I'm going to hack my body. We need to heal our body. And we can certainly use science, of course, to help with that. So about how do I get to 14 servings of vegetables per day? That's just like, it's too bulky to fit in my stomach. Yeah, maybe you put 1 or 2 servings of whole food vegetables that you get from your grocery store in your smoothie. And then maybe you put a tablespoon or 2 of Garden in My Glass, sweetens it up a little bit and gives you some vegetables that you can't buy at your local grocery store and some fruits that you can't buy at your local grocery store. So I think they're great as a addition on top of whole foods. But I've had people ask me, like, Jonathan, like, it's actually less expensive for me to just take your Garden in My Glass green powdered vegetable powder than it is to take the time going to the store, buying vegetables. Should I just do that? And my answer is no. Like if your sole source of vegetables are powders, or if your sole source of protein is powders, I would encourage you. I mean, that's better than not having vegetables, but I would really encourage you to start with whole foods in their natural form first, and then use everything else as a way to take it to from great to spectacular, right? Or if you're on the road, or if just nothing else is available. Motivation, craving, sugar, and caffeine, dealing with resistant teenagers. So I'm sorry, I don't know what the actual question is, but I can imagine that dealing with resistant teenagers would be very, very challenging. When it comes to eating sane for your family, lots of great resources there in the program, and we're certainly happy to help in the support group. If you're on the call live now, please let me know specifically how I can help, and I would be happy to. Adapting eccentric exercise for a person who is very overweight, out of shape, and has arthritis. Is it possible? Absolutely. Eccentric exercise is actually optimized in a lot of ways for people who are just getting started because it's so slow and controlled. So the key thing that makes exercise hard for someone who's struggling with arthritis or who is very out of shape or who's very overweight, like let's look at the antithesis or the opposite of eccentric exercise, or something that's like super high impact, moderate intensity exercise, such as jogging. Right? If you are arthritic and have 60 pounds of excess fat on your body, essentially jumping up and down on pavement is without question going to do more harm than good. Absolutely going to do more harm than good. But with eccentric exercise, that is specifically designed to follow your body's natural motion paths and to do that in a very slow and controlled fashion. So as you go through your step-by-step program, I think it's the first course on eccentric exercise. We actually have Dr. Kathy Patel, who I believe, she acts like she's 35, so it's kind of hard to tell, but she is a MD who might even be in her 70s. I don't know, because she seems to transcend age. And there's a video in there where she shows how to make some awesome adaptations of eccentric exercise. But remember, eccentric exercise is specifically designed to provide you with the most muscle stimulation with the least negative side effects. So it is perfect in that context. And we actually had another question that was posed in the support group about eccentric exercise that I said I would answer here. And that was, can you do eccentric exercise on a trampoline? And I think the short answer is unfortunately not. So I want to pop out a level here and clarify what eccentric exercise is, because I think there might be just a little bit of confusion, especially as we're just getting started. Eccentric exercise isn't like a different exercise. For example, most of these DVD programs that you see sold, it's like, oh, there's this new movement that you've never seen before. And if you move your arm in just this way specifically, it solves all your problems. And of course it doesn't. And those are all scams. What eccentric exercise is it's just every exercise you've ever done in your life has an eccentric component. Every movement you make has an eccentric component. What I mean by that, and I apologize for, I think we've covered this before, so please bear with me if you've heard this already, but it's really important, right? So if you've got your muscle here, right? So if you contract your muscle here, flexing my muscle, look at my muscle. I feel like an idiot. All right. So if you contract your muscle, that's the concentric movement. When you extend, see how the muscle is extending? That's eccentric, concentric, contracting, eccentric, concentric. So anytime your muscle extends, that's called the eccentric contraction. So every movement has an eccentric and a concentric component. And there's also isometric. So if you were to just hold a movement, like if you're pressing against something, you're pushing, contracting, you're lowering back down, eccentric, extending, and then if you hold it, that's isometric. So every movement that the human body can make has really three things: contraction, concentric, extending, eccentric, or holding the position, isometric. So when we say eccentric exercise, what we mean is just that your muscles, like if you were to the same bicep movement and we were to put resistance on my hand and go like this muscle, my bicep, can handle about 40% more resistance going like this. So for example, if I could curl 100 pounds, then I could more than likely extend down 140 pounds. I couldn't lift, I couldn't contract 140 pounds, but I could extend. That's just because it's like having a dominant versus a non-dominant hand. If you're right-handed, you can just use your right hand more effectively than you can use your left hand. Your muscles actually generate force more effectively in the as they extend than when they contract. So we say eccentric exercise. What we mean is just take existing physical movements and make sure that we focus on where our muscles are the strongest. Because when we do that, we can actually activate more muscle fibers and we can get a better benefit. Going back to the bicep analogy, right? If I were to stop when I could no longer lift weight, I wouldn't have completely fatigued this muscle, because if I can't lift the weight, that doesn't actually mean the muscle is completely fatigued, because I could still lower it. So as you learn about eccentric exercise, it's just making sure that you maximize the amount of resistance you use while you lower down, rather than like a new exercise, if that makes sense. And that's why the exercises I show you in the program, squats, push-ups, things like that, that's not a new exercise. But what is new is how you perform the lowering motion so that you maximize the amount of muscle fibers used. So how does that relate to a trampoline? Well, on a trampoline, part of eccentric exercise is moving very slowly on the lowering portion, because that's, again, going to maximize force. I'm not really sure how to move slowly on a trampoline. I'm not super familiar with trampoline-based exercises, but it just seems like if you're using a trampoline, the idea of taking a lot of resistance and moving it very slowly, like that, one of the general principles of eccentric exercise is you only want to exercise eccentrically when balance is not required. Because the goal of eccentric exercise is not to enhance balance. It's to metabolically heal you. So we would never want to do eccentric exercise with like a one-legged squat, because you might fall over, you might hurt yourself. And if you hurt yourself, there's no form of exercise getting done. So I think you could maybe make your trampoline-based exercises more eccentric by performing the lowering portions slower. But I don't necessarily think that a trampoline is the optimal context in which to perform eccentric exercises, if that makes sense. That was a lot. That was a lot. All right. So we've got some good questions here that were written in. Suzanne, what do I think of Fiber One cereal? I would strongly recommend against it. It's a bunch of artificial nonsense, and I would strongly recommend that you get your fiber from vegetables, just because please let me know if you have more questions, but that one for me is an easy answer. I would strongly recommend against Fiber One cereal. I would strongly recommend that you get your fiber instead from vegetables. Easy enough. So let me know if you want more on that one. All right. So it looks like Suzanne may, again, guys, I'm so sorry if I missed your questions. Please just post them again here using the question versus the comment bubble so I can see them. I apologize. Deborah, I'm having trouble with caffeine in green tea. Is there any disadvantage of using decaffeinated green tea? Great question, and there is no disadvantage. So the ECGC, the active component, the very strong polyphenol found in green tea, is not negatively affected by the decaffeination process. Excellent question. Absolutely. Decaffeinated green tea is a fine way to go. Fantastic question. AM says, I'm a practicing Orthodox Jew and as such need bread from flour made from one of the 5 grains, wheat, barley, spelt, rye, or oats, at least 1 day a week, 3 times on that day. So I think your question might be maybe which of those grains would I recommend the highest? If it's not, please tell me, because that's the question I'm going to answer. So I'm not super familiar with those grains. I would pick the grain that is the highest in protein and fiber per gram. So it's not wheat. Definitely not wheat. I can tell you, definitely not wheat. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of grains for a couple reasons, but we can always say, what's the sanest grain? I mean, we could say, what's the sanest anything? What's the sanest ice cream? What's the sanest candy bar? What's the sanest grain? The sanest grain is going to be the grain which calorie for calorie. So look at 100 calories of wheat, 100 calories of barley, 100 calories of spelt, 100 calorie of rye, 100 calorie of oats. Whichever one has the most protein and fiber in 100 calories, you have to compare by calories though. You can't compare by cup because they have different volumes, and they have, so like comparing 1 cup of flour to 1 cup of spinach isn't a fair comparison because the flour is all compacted down. So you have to compare by calorie. So just compare 100 calories of each. And this is actually a great rule for all of us for anything. You can tell if one thing is saner than the other by calorie for calorie, whichever one has more protein, whichever one has more fiber, and then whichever one has more vitamins and minerals, that's the sanest choice. So hopefully that is helpful. I'm going to go really quick. I love this, by the way. This is like the most rapid fire we've ever gone in a session before. So I'm curious to hear your feedback. Definitely less esoteric in this section. I love esoteric answers to questions, but we've got a lot of questions to get through. So here we go. We'll keep going. How to eat when I'm away from home? Fabulous question. In fact, so fabulous that there was just abundant resources. Please continue to crank through your step-by-step program. It's covered in huge detail. There's amazing recordings. Like with any of this stuff in your step-by-step, or if you go to the eating section of the website and you type in like travel or away from home, or in your SANE concierge, like thousands of words. Because again, it's not that I'm not covering it here because it's not important. I'm not covering it here because it's so important that I cannot do it complete justice on this call. It requires many videos and many exercises. I don't mean exercises like physical, I mean like mental. And that's why we covered in detail in the program. All right, so let me do one more written in question here. And then I've just got a bunch of questions coming in here. This is great, man. Boom, boom, boom. We're knocking the questions out. I like it. All right, so this next question here is 3 questions. 3 questions for the price of 1. Managing menopausal insomnia and hot flashes. Are there any nutritional hacks? I fall asleep fine, but I wake up an hour later and toss and turn for the rest of the night. And sometimes hot flashes are a bit overwhelming. Tricks, hacks you have run across with that help without resorting to hormonal therapy? So to answer the first question, no, there are no hormonal tricks or hacks that I've found. Sleep is an area that is extremely important. And actually keep your eyes out, because over the rest of this year, we might be partnering up with one of the top sleep doctors in the country to put together some really neat stuff coming out, because sleep is actually something that I struggle with a lot. So I've tried every hack out there, and I haven't yet found, and I'm not a fan of doing hacks in general because we want to heal versus hack. But I mean, sometimes sleep is one of those deep, you know, it's a little bit like saying, how do I hack my marriage? Like having a solid relationship with another human being is very nuanced, and there's many things involved in it. So there's no real like trick or hack. And in some ways, sleep in the modern world has become really complicated because they're constantly stressed. There's hormonal factors. So, I mean, what I found with myself is like, I've tried everything. And at the end of the day, it's like, Jonathan, why are you anxious? Or, you know, what's going on? And until I resolve that, I'm not really sleeping well. So, this might also be something your primary care physician can help you with a little bit, but definitely no hacks that I know of. I mean, obviously you can try valerian, try chamomile tea. A sane lifestyle will help you sleep, right? Physical activity will help you sleep. Eating a nutrient-dense diet will help you sleep. Not being overweight. About 80% of people who are overweight suffer from sleep apnea, even if it's not diagnosed, and that's going to destroy your sleep. So eat sanely, exercise eccentrically, have loving relationships in your life. Let's start there. And then, like, if that doesn't help, we can try to go a little bit more advanced. But those 3 things are gonna get you further than any hack ever could, speaking from experience. What is the best way to sanely fuel while training for a marathon? And there was another question about this in the support group this week. So the strong recommendation is read a book called The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance by Volek and Finney. It's a dense academic book, but it will tell you an immense amount of science and strategies that show you how, especially when it comes to endurance athletics, fat is a better fuel source than sugar, because as you know, you can't really store a lot of sugar in your body. You store fat in your body. So if you need a lot of fuel, eating clean sources of fat, such as macadamia nuts or coconut cream, are going to be excellent ways to fuel yourself. It is going to take a while for your body to shift from burning sugar to burning fat. So you are going to experience a bit of what some people call like a low carb flu for 2 to 3 weeks while your body makes that adjustment, but it will make that adjustment. And like the studies that have been done on using fat as your primary fuel source, not just for life in general, but for athletic performance and long duration athletic performance or endurance athletics, is phenomenal. So please check out the Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance. It's a fantastic book. And yeah, and just make sure you're getting the balance of your calories from whole food fats, and understand that it's going to take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. Like, you're going to feel like garbage when you stop eating all that sugar and you start getting your fuel from fat for endurance training, because your body has to make that adjustment. But once it makes that adjustment, you're going to be good for the rest of your life. So that's very helpful. And you're not going to predispose yourself to diabetes, because that's a thing that a lot of us forget about is, you know, it's awesome to be physically active, but if what we do to fuel our physical activity burns out our pancreas, then that's not particularly helpful for us for the long term. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. So hopefully that is helpful. Let me see, we got some great questions here coming in. What liquids can be used in green smoothies besides water? You can use the coconut water is a decent option. Are you looking to make it, Mary, can I ask you a follow-up question? Are you just not wanting to use, like, water is the preferred source? Because I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, green tea is great, but if you're just trying, like, you can put coconut water in, you could put coconut milk, you could use rice milk or almond milk if you wanted to, but these are not whole foods. They're all derivations of a different food. So yes, you could. Can you maybe just give me a little bit more information on why? Is it just a taste thing, or is it something else? I hopefully can help more. And Raina actually already answered that. So great job, Raina. Nice job. Bonnie says, if my goal is to heal my metabolism and lose weight, and I have a desk job besides eccentric once a week, what else? How many times a week on the stationary bike you showed in the video? Great question, Bonnie. So remember, when I say exercise less but smarter, what I mean is less of the conventional type of jogging and destructive high impact nonsense like that. 10,000 steps, like moving. If you're at a desk, if at all possible, get a standing desk. It's like standing, walking, moving your body, 10,000 steps. That's incredibly important, right? Being outside, being in nature, movement, things which, you know, our ancestors did that aren't like exercise in the formal sense. I mean, nowadays, I feel like sometimes our bar around exercise has gotten so low. We say that like walking is exercise, and walking isn't exercise. Walking is being a person. Walking is movement. Exercise is something very specific that we do. It's almost unnatural, and that doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, what we're doing right now is unnatural. It's incredibly unnatural for us to be talking in this way. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that I would recommend a huge amount of natural movement that works, you know, with your body, that human beings have been doing for a really long time. As much of that as you possibly can. And then we're going to supplement that with a little bit of high intensity, but very safe and slow eccentric training. And then once, possibly twice per week of the smarter interval training. And then if you want to do things like yoga and Pilates, these very low impact restorative exercises, those are fabulous options as well. So hopefully that helps. Mary asks, what kinds of salad dressing can I use? Mary, you can use any kind of salad dressing that doesn't contain hydrogenated oils or added sugars. So my recommendation would be to go on the internet and type in diabetic friendly salad dressing or low sugar salad dressing or all natural salad dressing. And then to find ones that have ingredients lists that are maybe 6 items or shorter, and all of the ingredients are pronounceable and none of them are sugar. So like oil and vinegar, you can make at home. You can use lemon juice, but at the end of the day, we just want to eat stuff that doesn't have a bunch of toxic nonsense in it. So the good news is that, I mean, there's more and more people nowadays that understand the quality of food is so important. And unfortunately, now 1 in every 3 of us are diabetic or pre-diabetic. So natural and low sugar options are becoming more and more common. So your best friend for this is going to be the internet, because what your local grocery store may have is going to be a much smaller selection than what you can find online. And since most of these salad dressings, they can be shipped, you can potentially buy things online and really expand your options that are available to you. So hopefully that is helpful. Yes, Marion, there can be some sugar. I mean, it's all cost benefit, right? So if you're going to get even some of the SANE recipes, we get questions about this on the site. You might have a SANE side dish, which has 12 servings and calls for 2 tablespoons of table sugar. People are like, you're putting table sugar. Holy moly, it's all a lie. But when you actually do the math and you see that, per serving, you're looking at 2 grams of sugar. This is not something that's going to be metabolically, not going to be of metabolic consequence. So remember, there's pollution in the air. That doesn't mean we shouldn't breathe. Some stuff is unavoidable and some stuff is actually good, right? What is an immunization? An immunization is a low dose of a disease so that your body can fight it off. That doesn't mean that we should intentionally eat low dose insanity because that helps our body. It doesn't. But the point is that our body is resilient. So if there's a little bit of naturally occurring sugar, right, even the SANE superfoods, right, they have fruit in them. So they're going to have some sugar. So it's just trying to avoid high dose concentrated added sugar, if that makes sense. All right, so look, a couple other questions here written in. Actually, not a couple, a lot more. So I need to keep going. I might pass out on this call. What is the best eating strategy for third shift workers besides time and type before bed snacks to drink? Before bed snack or drink to promote best daytime sleep? I'm so sorry. I don't actually know the answer to this question. I've never seen peer reviewed. I try to only share things that I've seen proven in research or that I have personal experience with. And I don't have a lot of personal experience with this, and I haven't seen peer-reviewed research around it. So I don't particularly know why it would be any different for a third shift worker than it would be for anybody else. There's nothing. What is recommended by a SANE lifestyle is universally beneficial for everybody because it's just eating food that is the most satisfying, causes the least hormonal chaos, provides you with the most nutrition, and is least efficiently stored as body fat. If you work first shift, second shift, third shift, not at all the time, those foods are still the best for you. So if you're on the call live, please let me know if there's like a specific question deeper. But I would say, standard SANE lifestyle should take care of you as it would anyone else. If that helps, I'm sorry. I'm trying. All right. Quick on the go meal options. So yes, that is the huge issue and covered in detail in the program. So please dig into that. What is the most difficult thing to do when going SANE? I think what I've seen after years and years and years of working with people to do this, the most difficult thing actually has to do with mindset. It does not have to do with any of like the vegetables, protein, fats, eccentric exercise. That stuff is easy compared to taking on the mindset of what we're doing right now is curing a disease, right? Obesity is a disease. It is a diagnosable medical condition. This is not Jonathan Baylor saying this. This is the American Medical Association saying this. And to treat that disease, we need to treat it like we would any other disease. We need to treat it with compassion. We need to treat it with caring. We need to treat it with science, and we need to give our body time to heal. And the way we do that is with an abundance of nutritional therapy. And so it's going to take time. It's not about counting calories. It's about flooding the body with nutrition.